Back by popular demand, you guys love the Panhandle video where we had a map up right here kind of showing different areas. We're going to do the same thing for Pensacola, kind of telling you guys about some of the best neighborhoods that are developing and blowing up in the Pensacola area. We actually took an entire day with Trent and kind of drove these neighborhoods and figured out, all right, what's happening here, what's going on here, what are our price points, what's scraping, stuff like that. So we're going to break into that right now with the map popped up, showing you which areas are really blown up in Pensacola, Florida.
All right, let's go.
If this is your first time watching, guys, Pete and Chelsea Sweeney, and we're gonna be doing something a little different here for sure. We'll try to make this work as best as possible. Biggest thing is we really want to expose you guys to these areas, so when we are talking about them, you do know what we're talking about.
So if that is something that you're liking, going all around Pensacola and down the Emerald Coast, do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell so you're notified every single time we put out a new video.
And of course, guys, if you are looking at purchasing real estate here in the beautiful Emerald Coast, give us a call or text the phone number right below. Right below right there, we always answer. It doesn't matter date or time.
All right, this is going to be fun because I didn't realize how much I love map videos until we started driving around. But the biggest thing when we first moved down here is that we needed to become familiar with the areas for our clients, for when we're doing these Zoom calls. We are traveling through all of Pensacola to try to match it up with what you guys are looking for when you're moving into the Emerald Coast. And this was really fun because Pensacola, don't you think Pensacola, it's hard to find this big city, like, master plan type communities. Pensacola does not really have that, so you really have to familiarize yourself with what already exists in Pensacola and kind of like really get used to the vibes of the different neighborhoods. Okay, the first thing is we need to kind of talk about which portion of the Pensacola map we're pulling and zooming into so that you guys can kind of see like where are you on the map, Chelsea. So down at the very bottom, if you can see this is the Pensacola Bridge, the 3-mile bridge going over into Gulf Breeze. This is the southeast side of Pensacola. So the other side over, let's see, over here is going to be where the downtown is. We're talking about over on the bayou, which by the way, guys, we didn't know the difference between the Sound and the Bay and the bayou.
I just kept on saying it's not born on the bayou. It's like, apparently I don't know
like the harbor, like we're like, what makes what? We found out a bayou is a slow moving river, and it can be next to the ocean, or it doesn't have to be.
Brackish water, right?
Brackish is the mixture of salt and fresh water. So anyway, long story short, right here, this is a bayou, okay? And this is what makes some of these neighborhoods really cool. So the first neighborhood that we're gonna be covering is East Hill. And I think personally East Hill was one of my favorites when it comes to looking at the different kinds of housing, because we do believe that East Hill has majority of the different housing, whether you're looking for an affordable home in the 300,000 all the way up to the above $1 million, very easily. And usually what we'll see is kind of the $1 million houses going along the bayou. But one thing to keep in mind when you are going through East Hill is there are 3 main streets that kind of travel north and south to be able to navigate all through this neighborhood. That is going to be 19th, 12th, and 9th. Now, East Hill is like the city type living. After 9th Avenue, it's going to kind of change as to what the neighborhood looks like. But the majority of the neighborhood is going to be through 9th all the way over to the bayou. And this is going to be, how would you describe East Hill?
East Hill, I mean, it's just a development outside of downtown, pretty much. It's an extension of downtown. It definitely feels like that. We felt this a lot in Colorado when you're outside of Denver. You just have these neighborhoods outside. Like ours was like a Highlands. This reminds me of the Highlands back in Denver, where you do have that kind of downtown feel outside of downtown Pensacola.
The other big thing that makes East Hill really awesome is the parks. And so we were driving through and we're like, oh, look at that park. And Trent's like, no, you just wait. And we're like, okay. We're like, oh, that's a cool park. He's like, no, we got to get to Bayou Park. And I'm like, okay, what's that? So as we're traveling through, we get to this Bayou Park. Guys, it is awesome. Like they have events.
They have it like dog. I think they have multiple dog parks.
Multiple dog parks. It's waterfront. Like how cool is that to have a park in your neighborhood that's waterfront, and it's large, like very, very large. It is a big attraction in this neighborhood, and it was definitely worth the wait. Even though every little park as we're traveling through this neighborhood was awesome, it was really cool at the very end to see this big bayou park that has like a lot of hype about it. Not only that, for a park to have its own boat ramp, like, come on. If you are moving to the beach and you have a park that has its own boat ramp, like, sign me up for that neighborhood. East Hill has a ton of character. It has a lot of, this is one place that we saw a lot of people would buy the lot and then they would scrape it and rebuild because of how up and coming this neighborhood is. This is kind of the popular area when you want to be outside of the downtown area.
Some of the older homes that people have given a facelift to, oh my gosh, they're just, they're so beautiful over there. It's awesome. You see these big houses, you're like, man, that is awesome. That's kind of what I thought about, like downtown Pensacola, that southern charm. It was just amazing, some of the houses that we were seeing.
The other thing to mention, you can get an affordable house in this neighborhood. However, there's going to be a neighborhood that we talked about today that you're going to be able to get more square footage if you're in that price point. This is going to be, if you want to find like a, say you're looking for like a 2-bed, 1-bath or something with a smaller square footage or a footprint, this is going to be a place where you still can pick up a very affordable house, say $350,000, and still be in a very desirable area. If you're looking for that larger home around the same price point, this may not be the neighborhood for you.
Now, what are we looking at with that median sales price? This is actually going to be the most expensive neighborhood that we're talking about. We're talking about a median sales price of $650,000, and that's of August of 2023. That is up, and not only is it is up a ton. Year over year, it is up 58.54%. I saw that number and I was like, this is a mistake, right? This isn't right. But then I looked at a few of these other neighborhoods. They're up similarly, almost as much as East Hill is.
All right, the second neighborhood that we're going to cover is Cordova Park. Now, this is something, so that in order to get there from where we just were, so this is kind of all that East Hill area. You do actually have to cross over the bayou, and so it's going to be like right there, and then you're going to come over right after that. You're going to have Bayou Boulevard, which is kind of the thicker one here, going all the way down. Cordova Park is actually on both sides. This one is obviously kind of be closer to the water. You're going to get those, bigger price points, and then as you kind of get a little bit further away from the bayou, then you'll start getting those affordable price points again. This is an area that I personally would have chosen if I was in Pensacola instead of closer where we are, because of the fact that it feels so quiet. It has a lot of beautiful trees, and they have good high-rated schools over here. We've heard nothing but great things about the schools in Cordova Park.
Yeah, Cordova Park, when we're driving through it reminded me of like those movies that you watch where, you see the kids like riding their bikes through the streets and hanging out, going over to their friend's house. And I talked to Trent, because Trent was with us when we were in the car. I was like, I bet you this neighborhood lights up for Halloween. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, they are serious about their Halloween. In Cordova Park, you got a median sales price as of August of 2023 of $463,000, so definitely cheaper than East Hill. East Hill is probably the biggest driving factor, is the fact that it is closer to downtown, but it is still up 48% year over year. I haven't seen numbers like this in a long time. The fact, it just kind of shows you how much these areas are blown up outside of downtown Pensacola.
right, I'm going to travel along the map and kind of take us up Spanish Trail, which is where we went, so that we can kind of show you kind of the flow of all of these neighborhoods. We're going to talk about this area, but not yet. You're going to have to stick around to the end. And then if you stick around to the very, very end, we're actually going to give you a bonus neighborhood that if you are an investor or you are looking for some major equity gains, this is going to be a great neighborhood for you to keep an eye on. We're gonna travel up the Spanish Trail right here, and we're actually gonna go over to Scenic Heights. And the reason we wanna talk about this neighborhood is this is going to be a very affordable neighborhood for our families, where you have bigger square footage, but you're going to be able to find a very affordable house. Now, I have to say, coming from a city where we don't have a ton of ranches, this neighborhood is filled with them. So if you're not looking for kind of that ranch style home, this may or may not be for you, because a lot of them were, like, we hardly saw that many like 2-story houses. There was a lot of ranch style homes. Now they're beautiful and they're all great, but there's not going to be as many trees in this neighborhood. It just seemed a little bit like the main street kind of going into it was really large, and it just felt like there was a lot more sun. It was like very sunny.
It felt more suburbia, right? It didn't feel like an outlying downtown area.
Yeah, absolutely. And the houses are awesomely affordable. So if you're looking to move into Pensacola and get more square footage and get an affordable price, this is a great neighborhood to look.
When we're talking about affordable, what does that median sales price look like? You're looking at a median sales price of $293,000, and that is up 39% year over year. These double-digit, usually when we talk double-digit gains, we're talking about like the teens. The fact that they are up this much just really shows you, as I already mentioned, how much this area is growing outside of downtown Pensacola.
Now, even though Scenic Heights is kind of this area, people who grew up here, like Trent, as he's going through this, so I'm like, well, what about this neighborhood? And what about this neighborhood? Let's go through there. And he's like, honestly, even though those are separate neighborhoods or separate builders where you start to get a little different, housing and kind of what it looks like, that he would still consider all of this area kind of the Scenic Heights area. Obviously, your price point is going to go up the closer you get to the bay, but these are also going to give you a little bit of a different product as far as the housing goes, and a little bit more variation outside of the ranch style. All right, now let's talk about that area that I told you I'd come back and circle back into, and that is going to be between the Spanish Trail, which is right here, and then the Scenic Highway, and that's this right here. And the reason that I'm not using just one neighborhood right here is because there's actually like 5 or 6, maybe even 7 right there, but they're small neighborhoods. So I'd like to lump this into one area and talk about it for a minute. So for instance, La Valle neighborhood, we'll get some drive-by up here for you, but this is going to be a very nice neighborhood with lots of greenery. It's going to be close to the bay. You're going to get a variation of different housing options, from ranch style homes to like homes that are going to be climbing up into the 800, 900,000. However, it is a mix, kind of like East Hill, where you have older ones that are affordable and some newer ones, or ones that are, larger square footage and footprint, and you're going to be able to have a little bit of everything. This is a quiet area. This area feels like it's not as close to the city as you would think, and when you're driving through there, like, this is an area that you can absolutely, we didn't see a ton of kids in the middle of the day. Obviously it's school time right now, and that's probably why, but I would love to see what that neighborhood does in the evening time, because it just felt so quaint and quiet. I wonder if it's like that all the time.
Yeah, so when we were driving through, this is a neighborhood that, or I guess an area that we added in after the fact.
Yeah.
We had this all planned out, right? And so when we were talking to Trent, he's like, you definitely got to hit these neighborhoods right here. But we're driving through, like, what is this area right here? He's like, growing up here in Pensacola, we've just always called it pretty much the Spanish Trail area.
Yeah.
And so that's why we kind of lumped it all into one sum. It's just this whole area right here. Kind of hard to get you figures in regards to your price point. I'd say anywhere in between what we're looking at over in Cordova Park, and then also over here in Scenic Heights. Probably median sales price like in between like $200,000 and $400,000, depending on which part of the Spanish Trail you're actually going to be in.
Yeah, don't be alarmed if you see some of those really high price points as you get closer to kind of the Scenic Highway area. But they're, like I said, I love these neighborhoods that have kind of a little bit of something for everyone, and this is an area that has that. Now, typically when somebody's talking about Pensacola and the top neighborhood, they're always gonna be talking about that surrounding downtown area. And yes, that still makes the cut here, but we wanted to bring you something a little different and kind of an area that we feel people are gravitating towards when moving to Pensacola. So yes, our fifth neighborhood would probably be this downtown area going all the way up into North Hill. But for sake of giving you kind of outside of that area, because that's kind of a no-brainer, guys. When people are moving to Pensacola and they want that downtown area versus the beach, they're always gonna be surrounding, and North Hill is kind of the one area that most people gravitate towards when looking in downtown. So we'll just touch on it for a second, but then I'm gonna give you the bonus if you are looking for an equity gain or if you are an investor.
Yeah, so North Hill, we looked at that median sales price. You're looking at right around $400,000, which kind of blew my mind because it is closer to downtown than East Hill.
So as you go down Palafox and you start getting kind of on that bay side, that's when the prices are gonna climb. But these are kind of onesie, twosie streets that'll kind of come off into little peninsulas, or they'll be right along the bay. Those are $1 million homes. That's not what we're talking about here. This is a small little kind of neighborhood off of the downtown area. All right, let's get into the bonus, because this is an area that when we first started going through it, I'll be honest, we were a little underwhelmed with where the proximity was. So on the map, we're gonna be talking about East Pensacola Heights. This looks like this is where all the things should be, right? Because it's right across the bayou of East Hill. It's super close, has great access right here going into downtown, and also access to the bridge to go over to the beach. So we're like, oh yeah, that's gonna be like good stuff. We went over there and we were so underwhelmed. However, the things that we're seeing, like as investors, we were like, oh, scrape a new house. Oh, scrape a new house.
Yeah.
Or, hey, that house like needs lots of lovin's. You know, like lots, and so it's very, very spotty. However, with its prime location and the fact that we're already seeing scrapes, I really do think that this is going to be the like gold mine for anybody coming in for investors or somebody who is okay going into a fixer-upper. This East Pensacola Heights area, I think, is where it's going to all be.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be East Hill pretty much expanding over into it, because we do see a lot of those products where probably back in the day, because you do see a lot of older products over in East Hill that are larger and they were older. Not so much over here in this East Pensacola Heights area, where you have a lot more ranches, but those scrapes that we are seeing, they're scraping them and putting up these awesome 2-story houses. You know, you got the metal roofs. We see that, and right off the bat, we're like, oh my gosh, this is an area that's gonna blow up, and the price point is still super low compared to these other neighborhoods that we've been talking about.
The other thing that East Pensacola Heights has that some of these other neighborhoods have along the scenic highway that makes it super desirable is it has hills, guys.
Yeah.
I did not know before moving here that we were gonna see kind of hilly neighborhoods. This is something that people love in Colorado. That's why we have like highlands and low high and all these weird terminology. Like, and that's because there are these homes built into these hills, and that's something that I felt over in this East Pensacola neighborhood that you kind of get along this highway that you're paying, you know, $1 million for, when you have houses right here that are built into these hills also. So the lots themselves, I think, are going to be worth a lot of money. The house sitting on it, maybe not so much. So I think it's going to be kind of that opportunity that you're not going to want to miss if you fall into those two categories.
What is that median sales price over at East Pensacola Heights? You're looking at a median sales price as of August of 2023 of $207,000. And that is actually down almost 20%, which kind of blew my mind, because, so if you go back, what I usually do is I can look at the range where it has like 1 month, 3 months, 12 months, 24 months, where it was up 24 months ago, and then like year over year it went down a little bit. So I'm like, why is it that it's going down? So this might be the point right here, because I think over the last month it was actually up a little bit. So maybe it's starting to catch on where people are like, hey, this East Pensacola Heights area, I could see me potentially buying a place there with those high equity gains in the years to come.
The other thing to keep in mind too is typically when an investor will come in on a house, they'll actually go under the value in order to put all of the renovation in, especially if they're gonna be scraping that house off the lot. So I don't know if that affects it or not. It's kind of just like us putting it out there that maybe that's why the neighbor, I mean, they're coming in, they're swooping in, getting a house for way lower than they can anywhere else really in this area, and then building what they want. So I don't know if that affects it, just kind of a hypothesis that I have. But again, we're gonna be keeping an eye on that area, because, you know, we do Airbnbs if you don't know. So this is gonna be an area that is like, oh man, do we snag up an Airbnb over there? Because it is close enough to everything where it would, like, any guests that are coming would be able to take advantage of all that Pensacola has to offer. All right, we have talked about 5 different neighborhoods that we would highly recommend if you're looking over into the east or southeast area of Pensacola. There are a lot of different neighborhoods that we did not cover, but these would be our favorite in, say, this area of Pensacola. If you like this content, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell so you're notified every single time we put out a new video. Also, comment down below if you guys are liking these map videos. We saw you on the last map video with all of your different views. Give us a little bit of comments down below. Tell us what you want to see, and we will get out there and be on the ground for you.
And of course, guys, if you are looking at purchasing real estate here in the Emerald Coast, today more specifically Pensacola, give us a call or text the phone number right below. Right below right there, we always answer. It doesn't matter day or time. Till next time, we love you. Bye.
Bye.